This is Amanda Che, and we're here to talk about being mindful or having a mind full of lupus. When you were first diagnosed with lupus, were you something like me, where your mind was racing to the thoughts of, what is lupus? How bad is it going to get? To, is this pain I feel now going to get worse? Or how am I going to work with lupus? There's so many things, health expenses, different doctors to see, because you end up seeing many. And you also know on average it takes between 5 to 7 years to receive a lupus diagnosis. So there's a lot of worry and fear going on. I like to think that it's similar to being pregnant, if you've ever been pregnant, where your mind is every day thinking about the baby. The baby's the size of a pea or an almond or a grapefruit, and you move on. But the difference is that when you have that baby, it gets a little easier, harder, in a good way. A baby comes out of it. But with lupus, it doesn't do that. And if you're anything like me, on a daily basis, I continue to think about my lupus and, ow, what is this new pain? Or when do I go see my doctor again? Or, I have some big co-pays to do. And that's normal. That's just like us. So having a mind full of lupus is very common. You're in the same company, but I do think that there's another way that can get a little space between your thoughts. And this is when the idea of mindfulness comes in. And if I ask you, if you are a multitasker, maybe like me, you would raise your arm. And if I would say, are you good at multitasking? Perhaps you would have to think. And if you're a woman, you would probably be like, yeah, of course I'm good at this. Well, multitasking is really not great for anyone, certainly those who have lupus. Let's see. The issue is that roughly 47% of our lives are lost in thought. We are here, we are there, we're thinking of the past, we're thinking of the future, and that is quite normal. But when we are doing this, about half the time, we are giving away parts of our life, the thoughts that are there. And then when we combine this with the fact that research has shown some big changes when we multitask, when we have our brain separating, doing one thing and separating others. It's like living a life on an autopilot, right? And I like autopilot on an airplane, not on my Tesla, that's for sure. So research shows that there's a 40% drop in IQ, which is huge. You have a 10%, I said that wrong. That would be huge. 40% drop in productivity, a 10% drop in IQ, which is still significant. And we make 15% more errors. Also, when it comes to us with lupus, it increases stress, blood pressure, and heart rate, which we know can greatly impact, perhaps even permanently, your brain. And these multitasking symptoms can also exacerbate depression and anxiety, causing mental and physical fatigue. And look, when you have lupus, you don't want that. You want to try to be as healthy as you can be. But simply put, with lupus, we don't need to multitask. We need to stay in the present moment. And that's really where the idea of mindfulness comes in. If you're not familiar with it, mindfulness is really just staying in the present moment, noticing when you're having those thoughts, those feelings, those bodily sensations that come up. And instead of getting lost in them, which is so easy to do, it's coming back to the here and now. And it ties back into the idea of multitasking, because it is so easy to get lost, to live that life on autopilot, to drive to work and suddenly be surprised that you've arrived at work, right? You don't even know how you got there. Instead, with mindfulness, we come back to the present moment. Helps you know when you've gotten off task and get you back on task. And everything except sleeping can be done mindfully, which is quite amazing. So you can better manage your stress, what continues to come at you at life, and ultimately positively impacting your lupus with this. So let's talk about how to do it. There are 3 simple steps. And just because something looks simple, it doesn't mean that it is. If you watched the Olympics a few weeks ago, which was fascinating, all of those athletes made it look so simple, yet thousands and thousands of hours have gone into it. Now with mindfulness, we're not needing all of that. There's great benefits from it, but let's talk about the process and you'll see. So the first thing I would tell you to do is notice when you're lost in thought. where you're going down some trail of, what am I going to eat for breakfast? I need to wash dishes. How am I going to get to work at time, right? Your mind just continues to wander. So notice when your mind has wandered, let go of whatever you're thinking. Just drop it as if it was, you picked up a dirty towel, you drop it to the ground. And then come back, notice your breathing, and take a cycle of the breath in and out. So let's practice this. Let's get some time together. Wherever you are, if you give me 1 minute, I have a clock in front of me, I can see the time. I want you to put away whatever you're doing just for a moment. Hopefully you're not multitasking. Close your eyes. I want you to begin by hearing the noise around you. Maybe there's some cars, a snoring dog, some birds. I want you to feel where your body is either sitting in a chair or a couch or laying down. Notice what it's like where your body makes contact with your clothes onto the furniture. Then I want you to pay attention to where your belly button goes as you breathe in and out. Not trying to change it, just staying present in the moment. Then I will be quiet for a few seconds and I'll let you continue on. All right, come back. Hear me speaking. If I was to ask you what it was like in that brain of yours, you would probably say something similar to mine. It's noisy. There are lots of thoughts. Good. It is normal. Your brain has a purpose, very deep and complex. One of them is to kind of think thoughts because it wants to keep you healthy, right? It wants to keep you safe, and that's the actions of it. And yeah, some of the things are that your brain's going to tell you these stories, reliving past or planning for the future. Now, just about everyone these days has intense demands on their time, and their mental resilience is challenged. And we all try to strive to find a balance here. So this means that you're never going to find a mind perfectly quiet. Now, that's what I thought when I started mindfulness, that it would just be like a hum, like a buzz of nothing, and I would do that. It's not that. What you're doing is just trying to get a little bit of space between this thought and the next thought. And even monks who have trained for hours a day across months and years and decades still have a mind that is noisy, and that's okay. And it ties into the idea of stress because we're not doing things that actively let our body know that it's okay, we can chill out. Instead, we just kind of spiral here, the stress spiral, where something happens, we have some feelings about it, and either we do something or not do something. When we don't do something, our nervous system doesn't know that we need to chill out. And this is what's so damaging, remaining in this fight or flight mode. This chronic stress can really harm you. And that's why it's so important to get a little space between the thoughts, to be paying attention to what's coming up in the body when you take that pause, like, ooh, well, I feel nervous. I wonder, what's going on here? Or, oh, I'm noticing that my stomach is hurting. So let's talk about what mindfulness offers you when it comes to the benefits with lupus, because there are many. I participated in a clinical trial when I moved from Florida to North Carolina at Duke University, and it was on the idea of mindfulness. It was called the MBSR study, mindfulness-based stress reduction. You can look it up. There's still places that offer this as a trial. And I learned a lot about mindfulness. And that's where I was able to add it into my life and where I became very curious about it. And now I can say that not a day goes by where I don't practice mindfulness in one way or the other. Now let's talk about the health benefits, because there are so many. Let's start with improved health. The cells in your body actually age at a slower level with mindfulness. Your immune system is strengthened. Your C-reactive protein markers are lowered, and we know what those are because we have them a lot for lupus. Blood pressure and heart rate decreases, and sleep can become better because it induces a relaxation response. When it comes to a boosted mind, it means that we have increased happiness and we have decreased anger, resentment, and some of those feelings there. So deepened empathy and kindness come from this. Neuroplasticity just means neurons that fire together, wire together. And this is a good thing because it allows these neural networks of things that we want to happen to become stronger. Less reactive. So do you have anyone in your life where if you hear them call your name or you hear them say that one thing, it just is like fingernails down a chalkboard? Okay, with mindfulness, you're able to be less reactive. That means you're more able to respond how you want to respond across life. So that means less, I'm sorry I said that, or, oh, anger got the best of me here and I apologize. And then finally, this is a really fascinating one for me. Pain decreases. Statistics have shown somewhere between 57 to 90% of those who practice consistently have a decreased pain. And if you have lupus, I know that you know pain. And this is one of the reasons why mindfulness has been used in a lot of pain modalities and treatments, like one for opioid dependency. Now on the work side, it's really good because you have deeper focus, concentration, teamwork is better, and communication becomes much easier, right? When someone is not on their phone or doing two things at once and they instead look you in the eye and can answer your questions, of course communication is better, so relationships are better. You learn to be more resilient there, so this is being able to bounce back from life's challenges. And then finally, as no surprise to any of us, stress goes down. And you know what? Hey, people might like you a little bit more because you are more clear-headed and more focused. I want to take a note here and just remind everyone that the way you breathe changes your mindset. So if you put a hand over your heart right now, take a breath in slow. You're going to feel that your heart rate increases. Now take a really slow exhale. You should feel that your heart goes down. So exhaling activates your parasympathetic system and it decreases your heart rate and your blood pressure. And this is really good because this allows your body to calm down, to find a little bit more of a relaxed state, softening anxiety and anger. And this is one that I do all the time. When I'm on that flight and it gets bumpy or it drops really quick, oh hell, I make a really, really slow, long exhale. Excuse me. When you are pulled over by the cop or something like this happens, this is what we want to invoke. So keep this in your mind. When stressed, exhale, nice, slow, and long. So let's practice it together. Put your hand on your heart, or you can take it on your belly. Maybe let's do your belly. Belly is a good one. I want you to inhale for a count of 4 and exhale for a count of 8. Do it again. Inhale for 4. Slow, long exhale with your lips sealed. When I do this in trainings, because this is kind of my job at times, this is what people really enjoy. They find that it's really helpful. And if you can see some of the key concepts that come along with mindfulness down the screen here, some of them are really important, and we've talked about them before. Self-awareness, essential when it comes to understanding and managing your lupus. It's the foundation for all mindfulness, and it's observing what you're feeling, what behaviors you're doing, what you're thinking about it. And it comes into the idea of being non-judgmental about yourself. Because when you start listening to your mind, you might be like, holy crap, this is what I did. I am such a bad person. I can't believe I was thinking that. Because I was just allowing my thoughts to kind of roll off without some ideas behind it. So instead, you are non-judgmental. You're going to observe things that come up, perhaps calling it thinking, and you're going to let it go without really evaluating it, which is key. Acceptance. This is acknowledging the experiences you have at life without resistance there. Understanding that things might be the way they are just in this moment, and that any attempts to control it often leads to more stress. That really goes also into the idea of non-striving. With mindfulness, you're present in the moment, and it's letting go of the idea to constantly move, do more, and go forward. It's like, let's say you had a task of cleaning your kitchen today. As you're cleaning your kitchen, you're like, okay, I'm going to go do the laundry. I'm going to do this. Instead, you're staying in the moment. And the last thing we talk about here, compassion. Oh, it's so nice to have deeper compassion for yourself. It's like treating yourself like you are a beloved bestie friend, where you are kind and more understanding. Here's a quote by the modern day mindfulness father. They call him Jon Kabat-Zinn. By repeatedly bringing attention back to the breath, each time it wanders off, concentration builds and deepens, like the muscles developed by repeatedly lifting weights. So mindfulness is the mental gym. These muscles of mindfulness he talks about are simply skill-based. And when we begin to do those, we increase that neuroplasticity and the brain gets stronger. Now let's talk about how to add this into your life, because you may be like, this sounds kind of cool. It doesn't seem that hard. Why aren't I doing it? Just saying you're going to be mindful doesn't mean you're actually going to be mindful. I understand that. We have to take some actions. And you can see by this image on the screen, it can be done formally or informally. When we think of formally, it's where we're sitting down. Sometimes people think it's this, cross-legged and oming out, and it's not like that. It can be if you want to do it that way. Formal is best to practice when you're a newbie, because you don't know exactly how to do this, following the breath in and out. But informal is probably what I do the most. It's when I walk my dog in the morning and I do nothing but look around and follow my breath. You can even do it as you wait in that super long line, always at TJ Maxx or Home Goods. And instead of scrolling through your phone, you stay present in the moment. And the good thing also is that I'm not telling you need to buy a new fancy shirt and a matching hat or a video or a program to practice mindfulness. There are many apps that we'll talk about that can help you there. There are wonderful things on YouTube that you can do as well. And there are some books you can check out from the library. But I'm not trying to add something into your life that makes it harder. Okay, here are the mindfulness tips I give you. Starting with frequency. We know that short sessions each day brings some change, some positive change. Just like you wouldn't go run once a week if you want to run a marathon, daily is best. So you need some patience and you need some perseverance here. Because certainly in the beginning, you're not going to feel like there's any great change, but you have to keep working on it. Okay, location. Where is best? I said in the beginning, do it in someplace quiet. It's much easier. This is how I work throughout the day. It's quiet. I have nothing on. It allows me to have a better focus. So once you begin mastering it in someplace quiet, you can take it and practice it in somewhere noisier. And then length. I know you're like, how long do I have to do this? Well, typically they recommend between 5 to 15 minutes to practice mindfulness. But please know, this is really essential, that even one time throughout the day, if you notice when you've lost in thought and you come back to the present moment, there are benefits here. That's not saying you should only do one time, but don't discount any effort towards this. Okay, when to add and what apps I recommend. So anytime you want to do anything new, it's best to hack it into your natural routine. You have a routine in the morning, excuse me, allergies here in North Carolina, and you have a routine in the evening. So put it into one of those routines. What do you do? As I was saying, I get up every morning and drink some tea and throughout the day. So when I wanted to practice this, it was an easier place to do it in the morning. So I would take my tea and instead of scrolling through Instagram mindlessly, I closed my eyes and I just drank the tea. And that gave me 5 minutes of the time being able to focus on the breath. So think through where you have opportunities to do this here. Some apps you'll see on the screen there that I like. Headspace is one of them. There is an app in the middle called iBreath. That is a really good one to help you can control exactly how long you want to inhale and how long you want to exhale. And the last one, the mindfulness bell, that one is free. I use that one all the time. And I set it to go off every 30 minutes, but you can change it to an hour. And a bell will go off, and usually I'm like this. Like I hear a bell, I'm taken out of whatever lost in thought I was, and I was brought back to the moment, and I just take a breath and I go back in. So nice. But there's many other apps. These are just a few I recommend. So you have to be patient with yourself. You're learning a new process, a new skill. You have to accept that it's going to take time, and you're also going to need to keep going after it and trying it over and over. So let go of expectations there. And then last thing I want to tell you before we get towards the end is to integrate this into your daily practice. Because remember, like I said, just saying I'm going to be mindful won't always mean you're mindful. Let's start with the first one. It's pretty easy, is to think of your stairs. So each time you walk up some stairs, be present. Feel that foot as it touches down on the stair. Or maybe choose to focus on following your breath in and out. Showering, this is a good one I like as well, because how often do we notice anything about the shower? We are singing some music or we're planning out the day. Instead, just feel the water as it hits your body. Notice when you have the soap by your face or the shampoo, smell what it's like. Stay in the moment. This one is a little bit harder, but a good one to do, waiting. I mentioned the one at TJ Maxx, not scrolling on your phone, but maybe you're in traffic. Maybe you're waiting to go through the TSA line flight, one of those things, or perhaps you're waiting for a meeting. Whatever it is, when you're waiting, see if you could stay in the moment and follow the breath. And the last one before responding, this is a lovely one at work. So before you pick up the phone or respond to an email, maybe you just take the habit of following the breath in and out. So the choice is yours in the end. If you want a mind full of lupus or be mindful when it comes to lupus. As we can see today, the distinction between the two is very vast, but hopefully from the research you have seen that the benefits that it can offer you when it comes to mindfulness to better equip yourself with not only a clearer mind, but an opportunity to boost and better manage your health is a good one. So thank you so much for being here with me today, friends. This session came from someone on Instagram who suggested it, and I'm open if there's some other topics you would like to hear from me. Be well.